Perfect. All right, let's go through these two self-tests that we did today. So the 102D book first, so the tires one, hubs, tires, and wheels, I believe is what it's called. Probably not in that order. Two basic styles of wheels used on heavy equipment. So what are the two basic styles?
Disc and spoke?
Yeah, I believe that's what they're talking about. It's the only other difference I can think of. Yeah, spoke wheels and disc wheels. So different type of rim mounting. Two different types used in heavy equipment. Main differences, what are they? I pretty much said it there. It's how they mount. So the difference between them is how they mount. The spoke wheels mount on spokes with the wedges, and disc wheels will be hub or stud piloted. What did I just answer for this question here? In terms of how they're piloted, hub piloted or stud piloted? Stud piloted. Ryan did mention something dual piloted. Anything does exist, and there's way more than what this ILM talks about. But for us at AIT, we just need to worry about stud piloted and hub piloted. If you're aware of this, though, you should, as you're disassembling something you're unfamiliar with, be taking a look at how it comes apart and putting it together the same way. So ideally, if you have something that's dual piloted, it's something you should hopefully be able to notice as you're going.
The double nut wheels are left-hand thread on the driver's side, and they did never mention that.
You know, thanks for bringing that up, because I completely forgot to mention that too. So there is an older style, and I'll make sure I will show you these in the shop. Thanks, Ryan. That's the double nut style is slightly annoying. So there's a nut. It's essentially a stud with internal and external threads that has a stud pilot, so it has that tapered cone on it. It holds the inner dually on. Then you'll mount the outer dually, and it has another nut that goes on the external threads of the inner nut, and that is how you secure the outer dually on. And you're absolutely right. The right-hand side is regular threads, the left-hand side is left-hand thread, or vice versa. They're opposite of each other. So it's same how you used to have with older pickup trucks, and older cars used to do that as well, with the idea that the car is driving forward most of the time, and you don't want the wheel nuts to loosen off because of it's rotating the same direction that would be loosening it off. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thanks. Does that cover that pretty good, Ryan?
I think so.
Excellent. And yet again, all of this stuff, if at any point, once we get into the shop, we should have time where, talk to amongst each other. Hey, I've never seen this. Can you show it to me? And I will find one, or at least a picture or video of it. Okay. And we will explain it better. If you don't know what we're talking about, the ILM pictures aren't good enough. If the videos and pictures we're sharing, the things in the shop, if I can find one to show you once we get in person, I will. And then it makes it so much clearer. And I have a lot of things in the shop that I will show you once we get in there and we actually start doing this stuff. So, is it permissible to use any style of wheel nut when mounting stud piloted wheels? No, that is false. We have to use the special taper or a nut with the cone taper in it that allow to align our stud piloted wheels. So that's what will pilot them correctly. And then this one too, way at the beginning, is it permissible to interchange stud piloted and hub piloted wheels and use them as a dual set? No, you'll get the same problem with this. You'll have those stud piloted wheels will be coming loose if you use the hub piloted nut on it, and if you use a stud piloted nut on a hub piloted wheel, it's not going to hold it properly. You're going to have that cone or taper is going to be digging into the bore, and it's not going to work very well. So two types of tires in terms of air retention methods. So this is how does it keep air in the tire? What are the two different types?
Tubeless and tube.
Yep, tubeless and tube, exactly. So tube tires for every day, anybody who's, just in case you've only ever worked on stuff that is tubeless, bicycle tires have a tube inside of them, and that's probably the best way to imagine it. Or those inner tubes you see people sledding down toboggan hills with, those are the tube from a tube tire. Tubeless tires are what we're more typically used to in like automotive industry. No tube inside of them. It's just that rubber tire you'd buy from, you know, Canadian Tire, and then it goes on your rib. Tire tread design can be of two general styles. So now we're talking about the two general styles of treads. What were the two of those?
Block and rib.
Yep, the block and the rib. So we have a dead pen, or is it on already? It's on already. So we have continuous rib. Oh my gosh, I'm not drawing very well. So here's the tire here. Continuous rib has treads that go continuously like that. The other style, the block style, much more aggressive. So it looks like blocks a lot closer together than I'm drawing. Much better picture in the ILM. Sometimes this touchscreen thing works really well and sometimes it doesn't. Two different major types of tire construction. So now, how are tires built? What were the two major ways?
Bias and radial?
Yep, bias ply and radial ply is what they're talking about. More often than not, we're probably going to be seeing radial ply tires.
Is a car tire and a utility trailer tire the same size, same usage idea?
No, utility trailer tires. So I would imagine, and Ryan might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, from my experience, where you would see bias ply tires is on like one of those quad trailers you'd buy from Rona. Might have bias ply tires on it. Almost all passenger vehicles, all of them, and I believe it's because they have radial ply tires on there. Do you know anything about that, Ryan? Am I correct in that?
So passenger vehicles have a pretty broad inspection, like they don't have a CVIP. So, and for any inspection, usually they need to have a similar construction tire to what the door sticker says. But for old vehicles, if you're restoring, you know, an old car and you want to have the Vogue tires with white walls on them and they're bias ply, I think you're still allowed to run them.
Okay.
But as far as with a trailer tire, they're usually a very specific size with a fairly high aspect ratio, usually like a 225, 75, 16 would be a trailer tire, and they are quite a bit different. They're not designed the same way as a regular on-road radial, but they're not a bias ply.
They're not bias ply either though. Okay.
No.
So as far as then that even changes it a bit more, but it's very specific circumstances where you'll see a bias ply. I would be willing to bet that any modern passenger vehicle, you're using a radial ply tire on it. Or just, you know, like any vehicle out there with tires on it, chances are they're radial, unless it's a special circumstance for a bias ply tire.
Is it tire expires?
Sorry?
Is it tire expires?
Do tires expire? Well, they become weathered and fatigued, in which case they would fail. Now,
they do though. There's
Sorry, Dylan, you were breaking up there. Do you want to type what you were going to say?
Yeah, I don't know. My computer's doing something weird.
Gotcha. It worked there for a second. We could hear you. So you were about to say that tires do expire?
Yeah, well, there is like an expiry date on them, but
So biased have sidewall and radial don't, right? I'm getting this correct?
No, they all have sidewalls. It's the way that the sidewalls are constructed. So the radial tire has a tread. You can still see this ILM here. The pictures here show it the best.
A bias ply is the same thickness from bead to bead, whereas a radial only has the armor cords underneath the tread. It just has one set of cords that go from bead to bead, and they go exactly perpendicular to the flow of the tire. So from bead to bead, hence the name radial.
Yes. So these are the difference between them. So the radial ply, one ply bead to bead, and then the armor treading on the tread. And that's how it maintains that stability. The bias ply, okay, has multiple plies from bead to bead and no reinforcement on the treading there. That's the difference between the two. Does that help clear that up, Kiefer? I think it was asking.
Yeah, I was looking at the pictures too. I was just trying to wrap my head around it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so these layers are going to be laid from bead to bead all the way around, many of them. And just like Ryan said, this one just has the one sidewall. So the sidewall can flex a lot, which is what the tire is designed to do. The belts of the armor, the reinforcement comes in the tread to maintain that road stability and road contact, even though the rest of the tire is flexing.
The expiration on a tire, every tire has a DOT number, which is basically a 4-digit number that indicates when it was constructed. And usually after they're 7 years old, in some places 10 years old, they won't recap them anymore because the likelihood of the cap or the recap tire lasting the lifetime of the recap tread is low.
Gotcha. So I mean, yet again, 7 years. So I've had my truck for 6 years, and I've gone through 2 sets or I guess 1.5 sets. I'm on my 2nd set now of tires. So I mean, and I've gone 230,000 kilometers with it on mostly highway. So 7 years on the wheels, on tires, on a passenger vehicle anyhow. And then only imagine on something that's hauling cargo on the highway, how many kilometers they do. I mean, chances are, unless you're buying old tires from somewhere, you're not going to be worried about tires expiring, I'd imagine.
and even then, it's more of a guideline because I've seen lots of off-road units with tires that are way over expired.
Gotcha. Good question. Good questions.
Another way to get away from that, I think another way to get away from that trouble, you can inject some gums inside of it. So it will be past the expiry and leave it for. Actually, my Bobcat got injected all tires for, so it's nail proof, pretty much. Yeah, it is.
I've heard that. I've heard about this stuff. I heard tire technicians do not like it either. The goo that you can put in.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're gonna lose their business. That's what Ryan here.
Yeah, I heard they don't like it because eventually they do have to change tires as well, because even though it may last through punctures and wear or damage and all of this, eventually it will wear out and need to be changed. And then if someone has to demount that rubber from that rim, it can be messy business from what I understand.
Well, Tesla is just doing another technology just to get away from all this hassles.
Oh yeah, I've seen the self-healing rubber and self-healing tires, or tires that don't have air in them anymore, but they're not solid. They actually do flex, so they have the same properties as radial ply tires on the highway, but they don't actually have any air in them. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We're trying to do all kinds of things, right?
Yeah, technology is going to be obsolete soon. We're not. We're a little bit behind.
I don't know if we'll be obsolete necessarily.
Well,
And
see, we have to learn everything here. Right now, they're just the electronics is just getting too much ahead of everybody. So
yeah, oh, and it's because they go so quickly. Many people don't, I've never heard many people accuse the government of operating quickly. So, and everything that's regulated with our curriculum is from the government. And so, yeah, it takes a while for things to update sometimes. How do we match tire size? The sidewalls of the tire. Absolutely true. And how could we match? And so once we know we have actual, and do they say that's true? Because they might be talking about a different aspect of it, measuring it. Tubeless knob, bias ply, radial ply, false. There we go. So they're talking about something different than what I mean. How do you make sure you have the same size of tire? You check the numbers on the sidewall. Now, do you make sure that the tires are wore evenly? That's by measuring the circumference or the diameter, tread, the tread life, however that may be. So some of the equipment you use to check this one, to make sure that the circumferences, diameters are all even, you can use a straight edge, a square, a string. Okay, and that was in those pictures there. When matching tires on a tandem axle assembly, the front axle tire set can be matched, but slightly different from a matched rear axle tire set. Should you do that? False, yeah. What will you damage if you do that?
Torque converter, not torque converter. The hell is it called? Power divider.
Yes, yep, the power divider. The interaxle differential is what you will damage. Yeah, and I mean, yet again, ideally in a perfect world, you want them to be the same. Do we run with, how often are we checking this? Probably not as often as we should be. A lot of people with tandem drives, they drive around with that interaxle locked in all the time anyway, up here, right? Especially once we get into winter months. And so it's going to be locked out anyway. You're going to get tire scrub. It'll wear down those tires to fairly close to even pretty quickly. What are the two main problems of inflation? The only two real problems about inflation. What can you do? You either have over and under, right? The ILM here talked about that underinflated is worse than overinflated. As an apprentice, explain what you would do to prevent personal injury when working around tires, wheels, and rims. I can answer this with one sentence. I would follow all safety procedures and recommendations according to the manufacturer and OH&S. Let's see what they say. Get training in safe tire, wheel, rim handling, follow all instructions, ask for help when uncertain, know the most likely explosive force trajectories, and stay clear from them. What should we do before removing any tire assembly? We should be checking to make sure that there is no damage, that it's going to cause the tire to explode. Some of these short answer ones, I like to see exactly what they want to see. Visually inspect the tire wheel rim for signs of overheating, damage, cracks, or mismatched parts before we go taking it apart. Basically, look out for danger. What is the first thing we should do before working on a loose tire assembly? Someone just want to answer this from what it says in the book?
Remove all air.
Remove all air. Is that something that's happening? Not very often. But that's what we're going to be doing if we're taking off the wheel from the rim. Okay. Moving a tire assembly from a vehicle for repair or before working on a loose tire assembly. So we're going to be trying to do something with the tire assembly. Okay. Then we can take the air off while it's still mounted. Permissible to weld or braze on a steel wheel. Should we weld on a rim?
Ew.
No, don't weld on a rim. Very bad. What do you use to safely inflate a tire, wheel, or rim assembly? It's that video we watched.
Cage it.
Yes, the appropriate safety cage.
With that whole welding on the rim thing, we had a trailer come in that had gotten on fire from the brakes dragging, and the rims, they still looked good. My foreman told me to take a grinder or anything and just cut a chunk out of them because they got really hot, but they looked fine. So he just wanted them to have visual damage to them when they went to scrap them.
Yep, yeah, because otherwise someone will pull it out of there. I guarantee it.
Yep.
They'll try and use them rims. So, it's permissible to mix wheel and rim, side locking rings and lock rings. Side rings and lock rings. We can mix and match parts with split rims, right?
No.
Nope, absolutely not. Yep, it has to be matched parts. If you don't know for sure, don't use them. And same thing, they're supposed to be destroyed before we scrap them, so they cannot be used at all. Axle wheel hubs generally use a set of 2 tapered bearings. These bearings do not require adjustment.
Bolts.
While half of it's true, axle wheel hubs do absolutely generally use a set of 2 tapered roller bearings, but they do require adjustment. So yeah, overall this statement is false.
So back on number 19, if the front is a aluminum rim and the back is just a steel, is that for truck is okay to go?
Sure. Oh yeah, that's fine. As long as it's the same size of tire and the studs are appropriately lengthed, should be fine. What they're talking about there is in one rim. Like, remember how you said there is the 3-piece rims that you would see? It's if you have one 3-piece rim that has half of its parts, and you have the other 3-piece rim that has 1.5 of its parts, and you mix them together to make one 3-piece rim, that, oh no, okay? If you have aluminum wheels on the steer axle, aluminum rims on the steer axle, and all your drives are steel, or vice versa, that's perfectly fine. It's about tire size then. Make sense?
Yeah, it is.
Wheel bearings are only lubricated by grease. Definitely.
However, inner tires is more steel and outer is aluminum on the tandem trucks.
So I have definitely seen that, is mixing steel and aluminum rims. Yet again, tire size is what it's about. Those steel rim and
But put that one plastic spacer. Put that one plastic spacer between.
Yes, that's what you have to do if you're going to do that. First of all, you need to make sure your studs are the correct length, because some of them might not be. A lot of people do that for aesthetics. It's because the aluminum rims are shiny and they look nice. And it's cheaper to get 4 aluminum rims, 4 steel rims, and mix them than it is to get all 8 aluminum ones, because the aluminum ones are a little bit more expensive. Overall, you'll save more weight, I believe, by getting aluminum ones. I believe that's one of the other additional features of aluminum rims too. Slight weight savings. All bearings are lubricated by grease. That is false. They can be oil lubricated as well. All wheel studs have right-hand threads. Remember, I said I didn't talk about this. It is false. Some have left-hand threads. And thank you for bringing that up, Brian, so that we did talk about that.
On that that trailer from that video I had,
half the trailer was left hand, half the trailer was right, because that's how old it was, and I guess that's how they used to do it.
Actually, a lot of buses do it like that too.
Mhm. School buses are their own unique animal too. Same thing with like motorhomes. They're a bit unique. What are the two types of wheel balancing problems?
Static and dynamic.
Yes. Now, which one would I say is called, would give you a bounce?
Static.
Yeah, a static one. So that means a dynamic one would give me the shimmy, right? Nice. Cool. Wheel weights used for balancing tires. Tire assemblies must be specific shape and contour. And that would be true.
Or true. I mean,
Yeah, and a lot of times on aluminum ones, if you look, the rim itself is balanced from the factory. They have weights welded into them a lot of times, or glued into them. So they've already balanced the rim. Cracks in steel wheels can be welded and the wheel can be then returned to service.
Well, definitely, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, can it be, and then will it fail very quickly? Yes, and cause danger. And once I start talking about CVIPs, I'll start talking about the bus load of nuns, orphans, puppies, and kittens. So that's what we always have to worry about, the worst case scenario happening. I mean, a few years ago, we did have a pretty bad instance that gets publicized, right? When a bus load of hockey players was of young adults was taken out by a tractor trailer. And I would have hated to be a technician who worked on that unit, because all of your work suddenly would have been pulled under scrutiny in that instance in the beginnings of the investigation. So yeah, definitely always think about the potential that you could take out a bus full of nuns, orphans, puppies, and kittens. The reason I say that is because then hopefully I pull on at least one of your heartstrings. I mean, most of you are probably heartless like me, but one of those four things will get to you, right? If you don't like nuns, you might like kittens. And so, right? But if you hate cats, you might like puppies. So it's one of those things will make you feel guilty, right? So we always have to think about that, because our work, if we do something incorrectly, we have a large potential to cause a lot of damage and grief and possibly death and injuries for people too, right? To prevent internal tire and wheel rim damage, airlines should be free of water and oil. True. So this is going to be that contamination, which would cause those little balls inside of there Ryan was talking about. Basically the rubber coming off from the inside breaking down. The term cording is used to describe flat spots on the wheel or rim edges. I believe it is. They talked about it in there. Yes.
It is true.
Yeah, so we call it cording. There's flat spots on the wheel or rim edges. Long tire life is only obtained by a joint effort between the operator and the service technician. Absolutely. Got to be sure that we have correct pressures in there and we're not overloading things, and we have correct tires selected for what we're going to be doing. Okay. Anyone have any questions on this book? Nope. Well, let's keep on trucking. Take a look at this one.
Should try just like regular earbuds for your phone or something.
Yeah, I might pull those out. I have some of those, so I might try those next week. I like these. They sound really good. It's just, I need some that are actual over the ear, my whole ear. All right, can we still see the self-test here? What is the main advantage of using a deck trailer to carry cargo?
Easy to load and unload.
You betcha. It's nice and high up. Usually it'll pull right up to a cargo bay. Same thing with a van, right? They're pretty smart, and they have loading docks all set up for that, right? Good height for a forklift to get it off of there as well. Highboy trailer has the deck located where?
C.
C, above the tractor trailer wheels and suspension components. Yep. So it's above everything. Two advantages of a lowboy are
And carry heavy loads in the center of gravity.
Yep, so they can carry very heavy loads and they have a lower center of gravity. That's how they can carry heavier loads. What do we call a trailer that protects the load from the environmental conditions?
B.
B, yeah, so it won't get rained on, it won't get snowed on, won't have the wind blowing through it, just a van trailer. And typically it'll be uninsulated. They're very light, so carrying just, pallets full of toys to Toys R Us, probably just a van trailer. Temperature controlled trailers do what?
D.
Which one?
D. D.
B.
D as in Dylan.
Yeah, I agree. They keep the cargo at a constant temperature, whether that's high temperature or low temperature, so freezing or above freezing. Okay, temperature controlled trailers are. They're a van trailer, but they're insulated, so the walls are very thick, usually full of foam, and the doors are a lot heavier as well. Different barn doors on it. Tank type trailer. Sorry?
I was gonna say the maintenance sucks. You have to grab the ladder, go top, and do oil change on top. That Rosano. that
The picture of that Safeway trailer. So to do an oil change on that reefer unit, it's up on a ladder.
Yeah, they were sending me. I didn't like it.
Oh yeah, I've done lots of oil changes on those units, and so right up here. So the engine, a lot of times they're up here, or at very least they're down here. Okay, and so you're up here draining the oil through a little tiny hose or something all the way down into there or something like that. So but yeah, it's a little tiny, I don't know, 2 or 4 cylinder engine up in there that's running the compressor for the refrigeration. In that instance there. Tank type trailers are designed to carry liquid cargo only. I bet you know they can carry other things like powder too. So carry granular dry type of materials. So it's very small seeds, really little things, sand, powder, things like that. Those types of trailers often have something that's called an agitator or a vibrator in them. So concrete powder as well. And that's how it'll, they'll also usually be combined with a blower, which is essentially a really big supercharger. So a gear driven air mover. And that's how they'll move powder around as well. Doesn't flow as quite the same way.
Frac sand.
Yep, frac sand, really, really, really fine sand. It's like that. They'll carry that in a tank trailer, and then they'll use agitators and a blower to pump it, essentially. And so it acts like a fluid when you, it's really weird. When you oscillate a powder, it acts like a fluid, so it'll flow like one then.
They're very loud too.
Yep, they're really, really loud. They are. Trailers can be lengthened or shortened to accommodate loads of varying lengths are called what?
A trombone.
A trombone trailer. Yep, that's what the ILM calls them. Vehicle ground pressure. So we just briefed over this a little bit. It's a measure of the amount of surface area that is in contact with the ground and the weight of the vehicle. So the amount of ground pressure is based the weight. So you'll have a force pounds based on a surface area, so square foot, and you'll have pounds per square foot. That's how you get your, they talk about it in Newton meters. So newtons is the force and then meters, square meters is the area. So same thing. You'll have Newton meters will end up being your ground pressure. Force times an area. What type of coupling device is used to connect a pony trailer to a body-loaded truck? So a pony, remember, is not a full-size trailer. We have a pintle hook on it, so it's going to be there. Now, how many points of articulation would there be?
1.
Just the one. Yep, just at the pintle hook we would have it. A tractor and a single semi-trailer are connected using a blank coupling and has blank points of articulation. So what is that?
Wheel.
Yep. And they'll have 1 point of articulation only at that fifth wheel. Yep, good job. The unit that takes some of the weight off the tractor when oversized loads are being hauled is what? So what goes in between the tractor and the low boy?
The Jeep.
The Jeep.
Yep, and then at the back, we boost from the back. So the booster is at the rear.
So it's A and C. Sorry, B and C.
B and C.
Oh yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Because when I was looking at it, I was like, both of those are right. I mean,
Yeah, a C train. So those converter dollies, do they take any of the weight off of the tractor?
No.
No, they don't. They hold. Well, it's because the tractor wasn't going to carry any of the weight anyway. The converter dolly carries it all. The tractor has to pull it, but it's not holding that weight. So it doesn't. A C train allows you to hook up to another trailer. I mean, you wouldn't have been able to before, but the Jeep would be used. You could use that low boy without it, but then if you needed it, you put it in between the two, and it will take some of the weight off of the tractor. Basically give you 2 more axles and a longer frame.
And I think he thinks B and C are correct.
no, it's just G.
Doesn't-
Yeah, it's just C. Sorry, I was confused there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he meant C as in C train. Okay, yeah, it definitely is only Jeep. That's what goes in between the semi-trailer and the tractor.
I misread the question.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thanks for clearing that up for me. B train combinations are more stable during operation than A trains because articulation points. So a B train has less articulation points than the A train. Because the following trailer is connected to a lead trailer by a fifth wheel and a kingpin connection that provides only 1 point of articulation. So they can become unstable. That's where you'd also try using a C train, because a C train will only have the 1 point of articulation. Where are we at? 15, the device that connects the following trailer to a lead trailer by 2 or more pintle hooks, couplers, and drawbars is called the what? What type of dolly did I just talk about?
C train.
Yeah, a C train dolly, converter dolly. An axle that causes the wheels to track parallel to the trailer frame at all times is called a
Fixed axle.
fixed axle, correct. And then our last one, steering axles are used on some trailer units to do what? Prevent tire scuffing when the tractor-trailer combination negotiates a tight turn. So I've actually seen separate steer axles on some of those like log type trailers or pipe trailers. When it's trying to go around corners, it can have some passive steer axles to try and help it turn around to corners. I've also seen different versions of pipe trailers that have live steer axles that are operated by cables, and that's how it negotiates itself around corners too. So, any questions? Comments or concerns or profound statements? Observations, realizations, discoveries? Anything you'd like to share with the group? Nothing. I'm going to stop recording. That might inspire.